Hello, I'm Sergeant Maggie Cox with the Phoenix Police Department Public Affairs Bureau. The information, audio, and visuals you are about to see are intended to provide details of an officer-involved shooting which occurred the morning of April 28, 2020 at 10:56 a.m. in the City of Buckeye. The suspect in this incident has been identified as 32-year-old Robert Musser. This video may contain strong language, as well as graphic video and images, which may be disturbing to some people. Viewer discretion is advised. Officers from the Central City Precinct's Neighborhood Enforcement Team were conducting follow-up on multiple felony crimes which had occurred 2 weeks prior. Musser was accused of misconduct involving weapons, aggravated assault, and felony flight from police. At approximately 8 in the morning, officers found Musser in the area of 43rd Avenue and Northern and began surveillance. Officers watched Musser exit a grocery store and get into the backseat of a vehicle. As the vehicle headed south on 43rd Avenue, patrol officers attempted a traffic stop. The vehicle came to a stop at Orangewood, and the driver immediately jumped out onto the ground, yelling, "He has a gun." Musser climbed to the front seat, armed with a handgun, shut the door, and drove away. The victim told police he was a rideshare operator and the suspect had stolen his car armed with a gun. Here's body-worn camera video from the initial traffic stop.
Hey, let me see your hands!
He's getting in my car!
Here's the same view in slow motion where you can see Musser climb into the front seat of the vehicle. Knowing the suspect's history of violence and running from officers, and taking community safety into consideration, officers opted against pursuing Musser, instead allowing the police helicopter to chart his location. At the same time, the Special Assignments Unit, or SAU, was called in. They began trailing Musser in the far West Valley, and shortly thereafter, Musser exited I-10 at Watson and headed south into the City of Buckeye. SAU officers attempted to contain Musser's vehicle in an open field using a vehicle interdiction maneuver. A vehicle interdiction is a tactic used to stop a violent suspect's vehicle from moving. Only trained officers can use this maneuver. As SAU officers pushed Musser's vehicle off the roadway, Musser shot at 2 SAU officers in their vehicle. The SAU officers returned fire. As the vehicle came to a stop, less lethal gas and baton rounds were deployed into the vehicle in an effort to safely approach the vehicle. Here's the available body-worn camera video of the incident. In this video, you will see the perspective of the officer using an Arwin, deploying less lethal rounds into Musser's vehicle, and continue to use less lethal rounds in order to make the vehicle safe to approach. In the beginning of the video, you will only hear the shooting.
Oh, he's pushing him over. Shots fired. Watch yourself.
Can you take that window out some more? Can you take that window out some more?
Go for it.
I'll be right back.
43, we're going to take this driver out window a little bit more with the R1.
Officers pulled Musser from the vehicle, and Buckeye fire personnel transported him to the hospital, where he was pronounced deceased. It was later determined by the medical examiner that Musser was struck by officers' rounds, but ultimately died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Here's a photograph showing where Musser shot at the SAU police vehicle, and here's a photograph of the weapon fired by Musser. There were no injuries to the carjacking victim or the involved officers. 2 officers fired their weapons during this incident. Both are assigned to SAU. The first is 48 years old and a 25-year veteran of the Phoenix Police Department. The second is 53 years old and has been with the department for 28 years. Conclusions about whether the actions of the officers are consistent with department policy and the law will not be made until all facts are known and the investigation is complete.
This video was intended to inform and educate the public about a critical incident in our community. You can learn about the Phoenix Police Department's transparency policy on our website.